Greetings everyone, this is Wim aka Eric Holland again with a match from the new player league between Will McCarty, who was at the top of the league on 49 points. It's only 1 point below my score, so that's a really good score. I think I've done well for myself too. And again, it's not Felix level, but it's pretty damn good. And in standard, he is on mono black. Also, he is at the actual highest score of the new player league, so he is going to be in the finals as well. And it's versus Laredo, who is doing decent, but not that particularly well for himself. He's not in the top of the league, but he's not in the bottom of the league either. He's somewhere in between. And we see so we saw a treasure map coming down here. That's a pretty big one. Treasure map, great value engine, and Khan coming down here. And I think he should have minused Khan here to immediately get the value from it, because its higher loyalty is not going to save Khan unless from a lightning strike, but it's far more likely to get a cast out or a Nixon's binding. So you see a cast out here, and you want to have that creature, that 2/2, that can grow bigger, especially with treasure map. It can grow bigger a lot easier because of the 3 treasures coming from this crying from when it flips. And now he got a fatal push from it. That's not exactly the best pull, because he's still got a lot of dead cards, so the drawing isn't that good at this point. The fairy coming down from for the opponent, should normally get a lot more value than William got from the Khan. But the second Khan coming down here, pretty important. -2 gets that beater. That's going to be a 3/3 now. Well, probably a 5/5 next turn. So if that hits, it would be enough to actually kill the fairy. And I'm getting some messages apparently, so I'm going to check my phone real quick. It's bloody irritating. Okay, sorry about that. So 5/5 beater to the fairy. The fairy's at 6 now, so this wouldn't actually kill the fairy, but Sell the Wreckage comes down nonetheless, and that allows Argyll's Bloodfast to come down and start the value engine. Plus, another swamp is actually not a bad deal for the mono black deck, which loves to make extra mana with the Cabal Stronghold. Approach to the second sun here, that could win him the game if Will isn't careful. Treasure map, trying to find an answer. Khan, yeah. It's upkeep, so he can't do that yet. Choose to get the Dreadshade, and then that can't open, swinging in. I think probably play Khan here. Can he make enough mana to play Dreadshade? And no, he needs to sacrifice a treasure, but that's no matter, he's got enough of those. Interesting choice here, but I think you just let it die, because you could sacrifice a treasure or two to make it survive, but that would actually lower the amount of power you have in your on the board, I think, because of the artifacts pumping the Khan tokens. Okay, so that's the Ibn Rivlet is going to try and find that the second sun a lot quicker. I'm not sure whether it will be able to be played immediately. It does have the mana for it, so will we see second sun victory at this point? No, we're seeing Teferi coming down here. I think probably you -3 this to get rid of a token. Might not even be enough. Yeah, that wasn't enough. But if you had a seal way in comparison together with that, that could have been really powerful. It could have allowed him to survive to get the second sun, but I don't know what was in Jay's hand, so it's only guessing work. So Duress, a very important card in this matchup now, and we also see a lost legacy in the hand. So this is actually I'm not sure. I don't remember there being a counter spell in Jay's hand, but I haven't looked at it that much. So we see Duress first. And I'm interested in seeing what his name is. Choosing the approach to the second sun. Yeah, and that was it. So the approach to the second suns were taken out, and actually one of the interesting things there is I probably would have left Teferi in his hands and then tried to take down Teferi. But of course, with approach to the second sun, it's somewhat harder to do that. And I think Will still took made a good choice there. Not really finding any more threats, but on the other hand, Jay's kind of short on mana, so we'll see whether that Walking Ballista pumping himself is going to be enough. Pumping twice without a break was somewhat of a mistake, but it's only going to give Jay 1 life, so it shouldn't be too important. 2 Vraska's Contempt are going to take down any Teferi coming out, so Will is pretty set to deal with any of Jay's threats. I'm not sure which that would be. That should have probably been flashed out. Oh wait, that was flashed out at the end of turn. So that was just my mistake. Big Walking Ballista coming down here, which is going to be disallowed. The Fairy coming down here. Is that with counter spell backup? If it is with counter spell backup, this is going to be a big one, because that's going to be allow him to counter the. But apparently there was no counter, and I can't quite see. That's Liliana. That's Majesty coming down here. Yeah, Liliana's pretty good. Dreadshade was exiled, I believe, so can't get back his best creature. On the other hand, it's Planeswalker, it's plussing, its ultimate's not going to be important, but it is continuously creating threats that doesn't seem to be becoming a cast out from the opponent's side, and the more he mills himself to the Liliana, the more likely he has a good reanimation target. So Khan coming down here, choosing to plus. This stage, I guess the plussing is pretty good. Land to the bottom, Swamp to the bottom. Azul the Lawbringer. pretty interesting here. But having the instant in hand. Oh yeah, apparently it's even just going to activate Liliana here. Dread Shade coming down. I think he could have also Frascus Contempted during Jay's turn, but the activation of Liliana is safer because that could have been countered. And a second also the Lawbringer. So in response to that, enter the battlefield trigger, we'll see a Frascus Contempt being resolved here, and that is resolving successfully, so that's a big. Seal Away coming down here. Will was playing around the Settle the Wreckage here, which I believe he still knows that Jay has in his hands because Jay revealed to Settle the Wreckage earlier. Wreckages earlier. Search for Scanta. Now he probably just tried to hit for exactly lethal and not leave it at that. Second card coming down here. Planeswalkers getting lots of value. And it seems like Mono Black will take standard 2-0. Even the Fumigate probably wouldn't do it, yeah. Lyra Dawnbringer. Interesting card, but I think with the tokens being as big as they are, it won't matter much. Oh, and I believe this is Delver in Modern. Oh yeah, I am commentating this match assuming that Will was the one who recorded this, and he's the one on the bottom. Perhaps I should mention that earlier. If I got that wrong, that's going to be not going to change a bit, but either way, we see the dredge starting here because of the draw from Cathartic Reunion, and lots of cards being put in the graveyard right now. The graveyard is pretty important. We'll probably see so 2 Nakamobas when came back. We've got a Bloodcast in the graveyard. And one of the prized amalgams was also hit, so that came back. On the other side we see Wildgrowth Walker. Pretty interesting play there. So that seems to be red-green value kind of deck. I think we've got some extra priced amalgams in the graveyard now. Yeah, that's 3 extra priced amalgams. So that's quite a lot of power on the board. And I think 1, 2, 5, 7. That's 16 power on the board, I believe. Meanwhile, the opposing side is playing around with cards that have counter +1/+1 counter based synergies. And Conflagrate coming down here. Conflagrate pretty powerful. Scavenging is pretty damn good card, but oh, in despair in the graveyard, giving all the creatures menace. That's an interesting addition. And I think actually it's really good. Seeing how Dredge loves to go wide. I never expected Tishana's Wayfinder to be played in Modern. I never expected it to be played in Standard, let alone... I mean, like, really Modern is quite surprising me. Scavenging is doing some exiling there. And scales coming down. And Conflagrate going to the graveyard. Merfolk Branchwalker exploring, not doing much. And Abrupt Decay dealing with the key card of the opponent deck, Hardened Scales. Some good cards in hand, but he'll need this card to be able to really use them. Bloodbraid Elf, that's a pretty good pickup. Into what seems to be Jadelight Ranger. And here we see everything going to the graveyard with Conflagrate. That is also simultaneously being able to deal with some of the creatures. Will choosing to delve a lot here, and we see a collected company from the opposing side getting a Wild Growth Walker. It's also an important part of the deck. Can he find the explore cards to gain him that life? Hardened Scales. Bloodcast still in the graveyard. Not sure what Jay exiled there. Somewhat problematic that we can't actually see the graveyard that well. Perhaps I should let's take a closer look at the text bottom. because I'm mostly just sitting far away in order to be able to set the OBS right, since I'm using the TV as a second screen. Bloodbraid Elf getting Shade Light Ranger again, which is a pretty big deal because of the Wild Growth Walker and the Hardened Scales. And it seems that will surrender that game because of the northern amount of okay, yeah, so there was a bit of a skipping going on of the first turn, and he asked for a rollback, which is completely normal. So we'll probably see Conflagrate and the Golgari Tuck hitting the graveyard, Golgari Tuck immediately dredging, and that hit 2 Nakamibas and a Priced Amalgam, so that's 5 power on the board on turn 2. It's pretty good, pretty damn good. And some more dredging going on. And the Bloodghast's coming back, so that's another 6 power added to the board. We're not seeing a lot of grave hate from the opposing side. Normally in Dredge game 2 and 3 you see lots of grave stuff. The only thing we've seen from the opposing side is Scavenging Ooze, and that's somewhat slow. And Driven to Despair, that's going to be a big one here. I think that's pretty much game for. That's pretty much Will McCarty winning this game. Yep, that will do it for Modern. And we're going to Legacy. Not sure on which build this is for Legacy. We see Eldrazi on the opposing side. Oh, Blood Moon. That's interesting. Which deck is that then? Yeah, that won't work. You've Blood Mooned yourself as well. So Ancient Tube only taps for 2. It only taps for 1 now. So 2 decks I'm not really familiar with, but one of the decks is playing a Blood Moon and the other deck is filled with mostly green and black spells in hand, so we do see that 1 Lightning Bolt. We'll see how well. It seems to be some kind of large red deck. Oh, Painter Servant. Yeah, that's going to die because of the Lightning Bolt. Probably should have seen that with Imperial Recruiter, probably fetching up the Painter Servant. Painter Servant is a combo deck for those who don't know it. It's naming all the spells having a certain color, and then it uses a certain card that mills the entire deck if it's all that color. If it's all red cards or something. And there's also stuff going on with counter spells being cast more easily because of the counter target blue spell. Yeah, Grindstone is the combo piece. So that I'll need to look it up properly to get it. Oh yeah, I have my phone. So Grindstone is the card. It's one of the combo cards that allows the deck to win together with Painter's Servant. And Bloodbraid Elf, pretty big here. Colgan's Command, returning target creature and making the opponent discard a card, so not a Bloodbraid Elf back. Yeah, this is pretty good, pretty strong. Second Bloodbraid Elf. No, it's a third Bloodbraid Elf already. Another one with Tarmogoyf. Yeah, that was Legacy Game 2. It seems that Legacy Game 1 was won by... Yeah, it was won by Jay because of the Blood Moon. So... Vicious Bauble, just a 0-drop to filter your deck. Okay, so the way Painter's Servant works is that Grindstone says 3 mana, target player, tap, target player dodges top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. If both cards share a color, repeat this process. Painter's Servant makes all cards a certain color, so they'll just name that color, and then they'll be able to counter pretty much everything they want. Now, interestingly, we see Pyroblast here, probably from the sideboard. Yeah, and we see lots of red being played. Probably some red cards came from the sideboard in response to the Blood Moon. So we see Chandra and a Snaring Bridge. And we'll see another Chandra facing off with Chandra. Oh no, with the forests still on the battlefield, that Bloodbraid Elf can actually come down. Couldn't attack Chandra because of the Ensnaring Bridge. At least I'm not sure whether Ensnaring Bridge actually prevents. No, I think it's just can't attack. So Imperial Recruiter coming down. Painter's Servant. And it's so Painter's Servant shows in blue, so that Pyroblast can now counter any spell that Jay chooses to play. Second Bloodbraid coming down here. Not sure whether it found Abrupt Decay, and that Abrupt Decay. Oh, it took down. Abrupt Decay took down the Snaring Bridge, allowing the Bloodbraid Elves to start attacking. Another Imperial Recruiter, not going to do that much. Oh, Goblin Welder, yeah, that could work. Still not sure which creature, which artifact it would sacrifice. Pyroblast is going to take down Chandra. and Pyroblast going to take down Pyroblast. Choose to block here. Will we see Chandra coming down? Probably yes. So Chandra's facing off now. -3ing on the Goblin Welder, interestingly enough. Huh. Not sure why the Painter Servant didn't finish off Chandra there. I think that was a pretty good chance. Now, if Jay can find that grindstone, he can win the game, but if he can't, those Tarmogoyfs might just take over the game. That one forest doing lots of work. I think you block here, keep Chandra alive, try to draw more cards. Yeah, oh, we see this in chat that Jay saw that he could actually have killed Chandra, but neglected to do so. So that was in fact a punt. Pyroblasts, being able to deal with Painter Servant, and that takes out the combo win for Jay. And with Deathright Shaman on the board, Deathright Shaman on the board, Will now has more mana again, more colored mana, and the Tarmogoyfs are taking over the game purely value wise. Thoughtseize. No Tarmogoyf is going to rumble here. Yeah, and that's going to wrap up Legacy with some decks I did not expect, decks I haven't seen a lot.